Live here in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. This is the Morning Brief. Thank you indeed for joining us here on the program, and we promise you the next 2 hours is going to be really interesting with the conversations and updates that we have lined up for you. I am Kelly Egiga.
Well, it's the 23rd, Thursday, beautiful morning of July. Welcome to your perfect morning starter. Some people didn't want to tell me the exact date today, but I disappointed them by getting it right. Of course, it's your perfect morning conversation where we give you information and news that you can use and help you get along your way. I am Bukola Koka.
Well, from the date tracker to myself, I'm Jeffrey. Good morning, and
Data tracker.
Guys, what are you tracking, man?
Well, I mean, the DSS again in the news, and it looks like cheering story or news for many Nigerians, particularly the story that has to do with some students that were kidnapped on June the 3rd, more than 1 month ago. And this is coming on the backdrop after a professor was also rescued by the DSS. So it's cheering news for the family members. It's cheering news for the students as well who have regained their freedom. There were students of Federal Polytechnic Kaura Namoda, which is now in Zamfara states. Historically, it used to be in Sokoto State some years ago. So it's sharing news, and we hear that. I like the fact that the DSS is putting out a statement and saying, you know what, no ransom was paid. So there you go, the 4 students who were released, rescued by the DSS, I should say, students of the University of Federal Polytechnic Kaura Namoda. So it's cheering news for these students. I'm not sure how exactly this would impact them, you know, psychologically, but it's good to see them alive. It's good to see them back, reunite with their families, I'm sure, in the coming hours. So it's cheering news, but then again, there's the question as to, are we going to continue on this path and trajectory of rescuing or releasing? Are we going to continue on this path? And for how long? I mean, what can we do to put an end or curb these kidnappings headlong? We cannot continue to react. We cannot continue to wait for these attacks to happen and then react. And just this morning, I looked at the motto of the DSS. It's loyalty, vigilance, and verity. So where's the vigilance? Because vigilance would ensure that these kind of things are curbed or not even allowed to happen, or prevented rather from happening in the first place. Where's the intel? Where's the intelligence? We're talking about Kaura Namoda. My father schooled in that particular school in 1985. He schooled there from 1985 to 1988. And someone from the south going to the north to go school. Where we are right now as a nation is the fact that no average parent from the south would want his son or daughter to go to the north and school, because that's the Nigeria that we have created as it stands right now. So as we celebrate this news, and we're hoping that we'll see more releases or rescue efforts from the DSS and other sister security agencies, we're also questioning the fact that we cannot continue on this trajectory of reacting, of rescuing or releasing, and ransom not being paid or paid or whatever. We cannot continue this trajectory. Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. More needs to be done. That's a question that nobody can debate with. We need to be upbeat. We need to be more proactive as a people, as security agencies, as a government. But we must commend them for what they've done. These 4 students now released. As you said, the DSS statement says one of the kidnappers was arrested. The others didn't survive. So this was a rescue mission. Well, the kidnappers, some of them had to pay the ultimate price, and one is in the custody of the Department of State Services that will be prosecuted, I believe, maybe in the coming days or in the coming hours. We are not sure of when the papers will be ready. However, we also want to commend them for some of the things they've done. We know that the 3 persons that were arrested that aided that Orire incident have also been will be arraigned today in the Federal High Court, Abuja. So they too can face justice. We're also expecting to hear, I haven't heard whether the DSS has actually formally appealed that judgment we talked about against those 2 Ansari commanders, when we say, Giving them a life sentence is like tapping them on the wrist. They should get the capital punishment. We should book a date with them and their maker via the state. Forgiveness is between them and their God. But when it comes to the Nigerian state, based on the atrocities they committed, they need to face justice. So there you have it. The latest is that 4 persons, 2 ladies, 1 lady rather, and 4 young men have now been rescued by the cooperation of the DSS and every other person involved. DSS has said that no ransom was paid, that some of the kidnappers were killed, but 1 has been arrested. So when we hear arrest, the next we want to see is arraignment, charges and arraignment. So as far as this is concerned, we're hoping that, and I agree with you, Kelly, we need to be more proactive. So now we are moved from, so on this government end, what is happening now is the fact that they are taking a lot of action in terms of ensuring that these people are released. The next phase is to stop these things out. But what I know from every release or rescue or whatever it is that it happens, every rescue that happens, trust me, there are so many others were prevented that will never make the news. That is the truth. When prevention happens, I think we heard about some prevention, I think in Borno the other day, a few others. So maybe we may have a data because there's a lot of issue of trust when it comes to the state and the people. So just like kidnap and rescue happens, let the security forces also tell us every time they prevent an attack, we would like to see, because we would like to celebrate it as well, just like we did the one in Borno. So I believe that for 1 abduction, maybe there are 5 or 10 prevention of those abduction. But bad news spreads fast. But more needs to be done by everybody. More needs to be done. Bukola.
Yes, indeed, guys. I'm on all fours with you as far as the efforts being made are concerned. Kelly, we may not be where we want to be as far as deterrence, as far as arrest and prosecution, important trials for those who are terrorizing the Nigerian state. But we are certainly not where we are, and that's what we must acknowledge the efforts of the security operatives, the DSS, the police, and the Nigerian armed forces. So whether we're not arresting all of those who are involved in specific kidnap cases or not, at least rescue is being done. And perhaps this is time to recall the account given by the DSS in the Orire kidnap and rescue incident, where some were neutralized according to the DSS and some were arrested. The arraignment of 3, which would happen today, cheerfully so. But the account that came through over the weekend, and Kelly, Jeffrey, and I, had a reasoning session over this particular account by a teacher by the name Isaacs Babatunde Oso, who granted an interview and talked about how they were escorted to safety and perhaps no arrest was made. He talked about how they were blindfolded for days and they weren't even, in fact, had any knowledge or knowing of where they are at a particular point in time for days. Whether that is, unsettling as far as the account that has been provided or not is concerned, then we must ask questions about the gallant officers who reportedly paid the ultimate price amid the Orire rescue mission. So we must ask questions about that. We must ask questions about the arrests and the arraignment, arrests made amid that rescue operation. And so, but of course the DSS has dismissed this, but it leaves more questions than answers about, how that particular operation transpired. Perhaps, there's some information where rescue and security operations are concerned that are not for public consumption. And it's a psychological warfare as much as it is a warfare on the ground with boots deployed to the ground to tackle frontally those who are terrorizing Nigerian state. And so to protect the Nigerian people and to ensure that, as far as and as much as possible, this atmosphere of fear that the terrorists want so, desperately to perpetrate and pervade the atmosphere is reduced significantly. For that, perhaps the Nigerian people will be grateful, and we hope for more successful rescue missions. And we call at this point in time the rescue operation for the Federal Government College in Borno, the rescue operation in Kwara State, the rescue operation in Kogi State, and we hope that more success stories can be told.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's always a two. First, when it comes to state security issues, we will never know everything. That's I can guarantee you.
Yeah.
Second could be that incident that happened. Few days into that incident, a man's head was chopped off. I do not see terrorists being so magnanimous to let people go. If they chopped off a man's head, it's difficult for me to believe that they let them go. It could also be that there was a closing in that made it inevitable for them to let them go, or they had no choice.
Yeah.
This is game over. It's game over. So the state has already taken charge, because the state said they wanted the Ansari leaders to be released, and the state said we're not going to release them, which is why what happened in court, and the DSS is not happy. So there are so many narratives to this, but what I am reasoning, I said, if in 2 days into their mission, they killed a man, beheaded him, the magnanimity of those kinds of people is far and in between. So 50-something days, maybe closed in aggressively by the security agencies, and they had no choice than to do what they had to do for their own safety. So, but what I'm saying in all of this, the state has said they were rescued. Whichever narrative, you have to provide evidence. And again, is the fact that the state, we have always said the state must have the monopoly of violence and authority and force to be able to do what they have to do. But guys,
I'm just going to maybe just 3 things. Number 1, to the courts, when these issues come to you,
send them to hell.
Send them to their maker. Don't tarnish the efforts of these people, because you do not have an idea what they go through in the forest, or what they go through to keep this nation safe. So the courts, I think, will have to do better with these cases when they come to you. Secondly, for the security operatives, Operation Safe Corridor, introduced in 2016, I think it has largely failed Nigerians. The defense minister has said shoot on sight. We do not have time for all of this. And then thirdly, I hope we're not seeing this kind of reactive measures now and swift response because there's an election in 2027. I hope we're not seeing that because of this, because we are used to seeing all of this play out before an election year. After the election year, everything is back to normal.
Well, like Papi has said, after election there will not be violence. But let's leave that. But 2 things we are trying to say: commendations to the security agencies, to the courts. Please, when these cases come, I know you're going to do justice according to the law. Let justice find the killers to be killed. It's as simple as that. So that the Nigerian state will maintain its monopoly, and we hope that we will be safe Sunday. But we just have time for a few things. Donald Trump has written to the president to commend him for the effort. I was talking to you yesterday. I said I suspect some of these efforts of releases and rescue efforts by the government has played a role. But you cannot take away the politics of it. Let's leave the security agencies out of it, because Donald Trump will praise you today. Tomorrow he goes ballistic on you. But it's good for the Nigerian states that the American government via Donald Trump is recognizing some level of effort by the government to, in their own words, say the security improvements. They always maintain this protection of Christians and all of that. That's also a strong narrative from the American government. So the presidency had released a letter written by Donald Trump to President Bola Tinubu. Some are saying this is a good mileage for him politically. I'm seeing more politics. Forget the security guys. They are doing their work. So I'm just worried that today we may be praising this president. Tomorrow he's going to call our country another name. Guys, what do you make of it?
Well, if commendations, it's just like the award given to the CBN governor, and I'm wondering if the results in the economy are enough for the award. But that's another conversation for entirely.
I know where you're going. I'm not in that part.
You're not in that WhatsApp group.
No, I'm in that WhatsApp group. That's my territory.
But if minimal results were enough for commendation, then maybe we'll just have to accept it, because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in the North Central. Killings are still ongoing in a disappointing measure in Benue State and in Plateau State, and there is still a very real threat, about the presence of bandits, of kidnappers in Nigeria's southwest. And so the results are beginning to come in, and there is now evidently political will, to rein in on the challenge of insecurity. But what are the other results that should be seen in improved welfare for members of the Nigerian Armed Forces, improved welfare for the police force that really are supposed to be holding sway strongly in internal security? Where is the welfare for the Nigerian police? What about the state police, bill that is now, making progress? What would it look like on ground? What about settlement for internally displaced persons in their ancestral homes? Either it's in Borno or it's in Benue State, where there's a real problem of internally displaced persons, and in Plateau State, where the terrorists are still, attacking and killing people. Some stories do not even come through, and they really do occur. And so when we get those results on ground and in settlement, especially for people in their ancestral homes, then perhaps it will be an ideal yardstick for measuring commendations and accolades, for awarding commendations and accolades. But the results are still very few compared to where we ought to be.
Well, I'm not particularly sure why this is coming at this time, but it looks more political, like Jeff has said. I totally agree. And I remember what played out when Goodluck Jonathan was president, and how it looked like the US had turned against him, and he would eventually lost the election. So, but it's a good commendation. I would rather prefer that Mr. Trump, as you commend my president, support us with the kind of equipment and technology that we need to combat the insecurity here in this country, and then try to make it easier for us to get this kind of equipment that you have in your country. Don't make us go through all of this kind of bureaucracy that we've had to experience in the past. And I hope it's not because China is coming to do business with us. That is why you have now realized that, you should come back, because I think the US is perhaps Nigeria's greatest ally in terms of investments and all of that. So that's my own thoughts on this.
So Russia, China, and America will always look for a playing field. You need to be wise. So Nigeria is wise. So when you are a government, you will benefit from all sides. Depends on how you play. This is Bola Tinubu stand the president. So this commendation is good for him. I'm also saying that some of these rescue mission also played a key role. The Americans were here, some have left, and some missions are still on. Some things are classified. But at the end of the day,
are you sure they are still here? There's a report that they had not left.
No, I think some had left. Some are still here for some more training, and some things are classified. That the state will not tell us all of it. But
and don't forget
the most important thing is that we just want a safe country. That's all.
And don't forget the U.S. Congress bill that was passed recently on.
Yes, and an amendment to court aid. It hasn't been done. It's just an amendment.
But it has something to do with the concern over religious killings as well.
Exactly.
So it's not the entire federal government of the United States that is particularly pleased with the results that Nigeria is recording as far as security is concerned.
There are political interplays in all of it.
Exactly. Let's point that out.
And when we come back after this break, Ms. Ambrose Igboke joins us to review the paper. Stay with us.